Here we go. We are live again. Welcome back, everybody, and great to have you here. I want to start today with something that some people find a little bit uncomfortable. And I want you to think back to the last time that you were genuinely and completely clear on where your business was going. Not just this week, not just this quarter, but the real big picture, the destination, the final destination. And more importantly, the lifestyle that your business is supposed to be creating for you. Can you pitch that clearly? Or does it feel a little bit fuzzy? Because if it feels fuzzy, today's session is for you. I want to start by telling you about a coaching conversation I had a few years back with a client. The client was running a successful marketing agency. She had a team of 18 people. Lots of good clients, some really great clients. She had decent revenue, okay-ish profit, but she was absolutely exhausted. And during our first session, I asked her, where is this business actually going? And she said, well, we're going forward, we're growing, we're on our way. So I asked, growing towards what? And she went quiet. And she went quiet because she didn't know. She'd been working flat out for years. She'd been pushing, she'd been building, she'd been grafting, but she'd never actually stopped to define what was she actually building towards. So she wasn't failing, but she was drifting. And drift, not failure, is the quiet killer of far too many businesses. Right, I really don't think that anybody wakes up in the morning and thinks to themselves, you know what I'm going to do today? I'm going to become overwhelmed. I'm going to become reactive. I'm going to become exhausted. Because the truth is, those things happen gradually. And uncertainty creates drift. Drift creates inconsistency. Inconsistency creates underperformance. And eventually the owner starts feeling frustrated, stretched, and unsure that their business feels a lot harder than it should. But here's the thing. That's not a strategy problem. That's a clarity problem. So let me ask you, what kind of life is your business supposed to create for you? Because most owners, when I ask that question, they know they want more money. They know they want less stress. They know they want more time. They know they want more freedom, but they haven't actually defined what that really looks like for them. And that really, really matters, because if you don't know what the destination looks like, how can you possibly build a business that's capable of taking you there? For me, that's a bit like getting in the back of a taxi and asking the driver to take you somewhere. You will end up somewhere, but it might be somewhere you never wanted to go. So consider things like, what experiences do you want to have in life? If you like traveling, what places would you like to travel to? How much time do you want to be able to spend with your loved ones? What does your ideal working week look like? What level of financial security would genuinely make you feel calm? Now, these aren't soft questions. These are some of the most important business questions you'll ever answer, because until you define the answers clearly, you don't actually know what your business needs to produce. I think Stephen Covey put it perfectly in chapter 2 of his great book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Begin with the end in mind. Begin with the end in mind. If you don't know where you're going or you're trying to get there, how do you know whether you're moving towards it or away from it? And this is why clarity is the very first step in my comfort roadmap, because everything else, every decision, every priority, every hire, every investment depends on it. So clarity creates power. But unclear businesses become reactive, inconsistent, overwhelmed, whereby those businesses that have that clarity, the businesses tend to move faster. They make better decisions. They have aligned teams, and they build genuine momentum. And momentum changes how a business feels. Without it, everything feels a bit heavy. But with confidence, confidence grows. So what we're talking about today really is about goal setting. And as a result, I want to talk to you about something really important about the different types of goals that drive most business owners, well, people in general. Because not all goals create the same energy. And a lot of owners are running on what are known as away from goals. Things like, I don't want debt. I don't want to work 80 hours a week. I don't want the stress. And that pain can definitely motivate action in the short term. But what tends to happen is once the pain reduces, the motivation to continue often disappears. And what I've found is that many businesses are running from fear, from pressure and avoidance. And the owners are constantly trying to prevent collapse rather than intentionally create a future. And what that then creates is reactive leadership. Now compare that to a towards goal. So a towards goal could be, I want a business that gives me more freedom. I want a business that has strong cash reserves. I want to be finishing work at 4 every day and actually be present when I get home. Those aspirations get our brain to work differently because our brains enjoy having meaningful destinations to get to them. And meaningful goals hit the pleasure centers in our brain, and our brain rewards us with some feel-good chemicals. But, and it is a but, there is a challenge with those towards goals that I've just mentioned. Because when owners tell me they want more freedom or I want a calmer life, there's no doubt those are wonderful aspirations, but they're not goals yet, are they? They're desires, they're intentions, but they're not defined clearly enough to actually guide action. Someone can pick up your goal and run with it. Because the big question is, what does freedom actually mean to you? Does it mean working 3 days a week? Does it mean taking off all the school holidays so you can spend more time with your kids? Does it mean you being able to go away for a month without your phone going off? Does it mean having a leadership team that's going to run the day-to-day business for you while you focus on strategy? They're all different versions of freedom, and they may not be your version of freedom. And each one of those requires a different business to support it. So we need to make it real. So instead of, got to remember what I said now, I want strong cash reserves, that could be rephrased to, by the 1st of December, I will maintain a minimum of 6 months operating expenses in cash reserves at all time. So now we know what success looks like. We know how it's going to be measured, and we know by when it's going to be achieved. So instead of I want more freedom, you could try something like, by the 31st of March next year, I'll have reduced my working week from 55 hours to 25 hours without reducing our profitability. What we've done now is given our brain a clear target. And with that clear target, it now means that decisions become easier, priorities become clearer, and progress can actually be measured. Because here's the thing, vague aspirations create vague actions, and vague actions create vague results. There's also another level of goal that's worth talking about, and this one matters enormously as your business grows, and that's legacy goals. Goals that are bigger than yourself, bigger than your business. I don't know if you know or if you've realised, but your team don't get out of bed in the morning to rush to work excited about helping you hit a revenue number, or excited about helping you pay for that brand spanking new BMW that's on your drive. But they will almost certainly commit to themselves wholeheartedly, actually, to a mission, a culture, and movement, something that they see as being meaningful. So let's go back to my marketing lady. Once she got really clear on her vision, not just the financial targets, but why the business existed and what it stood for, something changed within the team. Engagement went up. People started making decisions without her, and the business all began to start to feel a little bit lighter for everybody. But here's the thing: she hadn't changed the team. All she'd done was change the destination with clarity. So let me ask you honestly: do your team clearly understand what your business stands for, where it's going, and how they are contributing to that future? Or are they mostly just trying to get through the week and pick up the pay packet? Something I also want to consider is that goals should stretch people. They should excite people. They should emotionally engage people. Because if they don't, people will quietly disconnect from them. So one way of doing that is actually to set bigger goals. So what I would, as a suggestion, would be to drop all the 10% nonsense. Now, I want to address something that I see far too often, and I've been guilty of myself, and that is that a lot of owners, a lot of owners set annual goals in January and then disappear back to the day today by February. The goals get written down somewhere, maybe on a wall, and then slowly but surely they fade away into the background. And then everyone wonders why nothing changes. But movement is not the same as progress. Clarity has to become operational. And from a business point of view, that means that it cascades down from company goals to department goals, to individual goals, to daily goals. Because it's daily execution that creates results, not annual intentions. Also, great leaders don't just communicate the vision once. They repeat it relentlessly. Because when communication disappears, a universal law takes over. And that law is that nature abhors a vacuum. So, for instance, I don't know if you ever noticed, when you clean out your garden shed, you go back to it a couple of weeks later and somehow it's full of crap again. Or is that just my shed? Or if you put a small table in a room, suddenly it becomes the place for keys, magazines, and it becomes a dust magnet. And where there's a lack of communication, that vacuum gets filled by people inventing stories. And usually these stories are a bit negative. In the uncertainty, people fill the gaps emotionally. And that's why leadership communication matters so much, because people need certainty, they need direction, they need reassurance, not just at the start of the year, but consistently throughout the year. Now, there's one more thing I want to leave you with before we get into your momentum move for today, and that is never abandon your vision or goals when the conditions get hard. Adapt the strategy, yes. Improve the execution, absolutely. But don't abandon the destination because the roads get a bit bumpy. During COVID, a lot of businesses went into panic mode and a lot of them gave up on the goals. And sadly, far too many businesses folded in that period. But a number of my clients actually grew significantly. I had clients that actually doubled their business during that COVID period. Not because the environment was easy for them, but because they stayed clear, focused, and intentional on the goals that they set. The goals, the target, the destination, that never changed. They kept their vision, but they adjusted the strategy, and that distinction is absolutely everything. Never change the goal, but you might have to change the route. Okay, here's your momentum move for today. Find yourself some uninterrupted time, even if it's just an hour. Lock yourself away, pen and paper, no tech, and answer these questions. That no tech means your phone as well. Get that out of the way. What kind of lifestyle do I truly want this business to create for me? What does freedom actually mean to me specifically? What does a calmer life actually look like for me in practice? And if my business continued exactly as it is today for the next 3 years, would I be genuinely happy with where it takes me? Because awareness creates change and clarity creates momentum. Now, a couple of things before I go. First, if you'd like a copy of my new ebook, 44 lessons, learn from 44 years in business, just drop the word lessons into the comments or DM me and I'll send it over. There's no catch, there's no sign-up needed. And the book is just a lot of hard-won wisdom all in one place. Secondly, if today has made you realise that the direction that your business is going in isn't as clear as it could be, or that you might be reacting more than you're leading, or that your team might not be fully aligned with where you're going, let's have a proper conversation. Not a sales pitch, but a focused conversation where we'll look at where you are now, where you generally want to get to, and what needs to happen for you to get there with more clarity, more control, and more confidence. So DM me or follow the link in the comments and choose a time that suits you best. It'll take you less than 30 seconds to book a time. Okay. Here's what I know to be true after decades of being a business owner and from working with lots of other business owners. Businesses drift when direction is unclear, and clarity, real clarity, changes absolutely everything. So until the next live, which will be Tuesday, same time, same place, we're going to be looking once again. Now you define the future. What tends to happen is a challenge that arises for a lot of people is they're busy reacting to today's problems, that they struggle then to create the time to build tomorrow's future. So on Tuesday, we're going to look at how you can reclaim control of your time, your energy, and your attention. Because the business should support your life, not consume it. It's going to be a good one, so watch out for that one. Now, you go and create some real momentum. And also make sure you have a cracking weekend. Thank you for joining me.